welcome to the Fosterdaddirective podcast. I'm Charles, and today we're going to be going over a new segment I'm calling Dad's Book Club. It is going to be a compilation of all the books I buy for the podcast, parenting, anything like that, and I'll either upload them to this podcast, my other one, or both, depending on how I see that they fit into the different topic. Please know that I am not being compensated for my review on this book. It's going to be my general opinion of it and how I feel it relates to the podcast, the good that I took from the book, things that I found super helpful, and just a little overview of the book itself. And as always, please know that I'm not a trained professional. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the host and in the future other hosts or guests and do not constitute professional advice unless otherwise stated by said guest. And with these books, always do your own due diligence and research. Make sure that it is right for you and your family, that it's something you could find helpful before implementing it and expecting it to be a fix-all for whatever battles you're currently going through and trying to help with raising kids, and especially kids who have experienced a lot of trauma, such as foster children, adoptive children, and things like that. And unfortunately, so far, I haven't had any response for the interview, so at this time, I'm assuming she got busy, so it makes sense. She's probably a lot busier than I am. I work and do this and then help raise kids, so I don't really have a whole lot going on. So I'm going to go over a little summary of the author, Dr. Becky Owens, go over the other things she currently has available, and then go over the book itself. And from what I could find, Dr. Becky Owens is a mom of 5. She's a former state representative, professional therapist, educational reformer who has spent decades advocating for families and creating systems that help families have a little more cohesion. She has a doctorate in education, founder of the Reset Method, parenting and educational consulate, obvious author of this book, and national speaker. And what is the Reset Method, which encompasses this book and was created by Dr. Owens? It's a practical and powerful framework that helps regulate, connect, and guide their children at every age and stage. It's useful for parents, teachers, therapists, and other school professionals, which it can be used in schools, treatment centers, and community programs. And it allows for academia that includes foundational training, reset cortex, interactive practice, certification, consultation calls, and something that said CE credits. The image was actually cut off on the website, so I unfortunately wasn't able to find all that. And Dr. Owens actually also has cruises, retreats, family vacations available, autism screenings, and even a nature framework homeschool curriculum that's 36 weeks long for children 7 to 14, which includes all the materials for it. So if any of that interests you, know those resources are also available on her website. And again, please look into them before you sign up. Make sure that's what you find your family could best use to support your goals and current needs. So what is the Reset Method? The book was honestly a sea of information. I found it to have some very good and well-written segments that were easy to navigate, that made sense, didn't overwhelm you. It did provide a lot of good resources at the end of the reading, different and supplemental data, such as a regulation tracker, regulation worksheets, toolkit ideas, different scripts on how you could help with deregulation, a regulation check sheet, and just different questions that you can use to help yourself become a regulated parent to set yourself up for helping your child in their times of dysregulation. And the Reset Method is regulate, educate, set boundaries, empower, transform. And Dr. Owens makes a good point to say that this is meant to be a compass, not a magical fix, obviously, because every child is going to be different, and it's going to be hard to fully understand what they're going through at all times, and especially when you first start this. I've tried using some of the topics in here to be a little more understanding, a little more patient, and kind of think, why is a child doing A, B, or C? And, why is the 2 youngest kids we have bouncing off the wall 24/7, asking the same question 24 times, even though the answer's been no? And it's definitely helped me understand. It's a lot of the implementation that I'm getting used to, so it definitely will take a bit, which she does explain connection with children before correction and understanding instead of discipline, and states that it's not spoiling to not discipline your child, especially if they are having a meltdown. And over the past couple of weeks, I've noticed that a lot, that taking away TV time really doesn't have an effect. So I'm definitely trying to redirect my actions to kind of go more towards an understanding perspective. And she does go over a lot of self-regulation, such as making sure you're regulated before you're trying to help your child, because if your feelings and emotions are all over the place, they are going to sense that, and it's not going to help their dysregulation, which this encompasses that co-regulation and remaining calm. You have to balance your needs while balancing theirs, as regulation is essentially an ecosystem with different climate patterns, roles, rules, etc., which she explains is based on Dr. Stephen Porges, I think his last name is, Porges, and his concept of neuroception and the subconscious nervous system's ability to detect cues of safety and danger in the environment, which are sometimes not fully perceived. And when it comes to children, an adult might not even perceive these different subconscious threats that the child are seeing, which relates to the automatic nervous system response, which responds in one of 3 different manners, such as social engagement, mobilization, which is the fight or flight response, and immobilization, which is freezing and shutting down. So you may see one of these 3 responses in your children, especially as they get deregulated, which she'll provide tips in the books on things to do to help regulate a child and the signs of dysregulation, including tips on regulating the environment, which is something that you can't always control outside of your home, but you definitely can control at your home, and prep your child for, going to a busy store and helping to keep them regulated in all that chaos that you just see as a normal trip to the store. And she'll go over this as well, which is how children can generally hold themselves together in public, but then have all their emotions and responses at home, which is the honest version of them and not the worst version. You're not getting a bad child just because they have emotions when you get home. It means they held all those together and may have had 6 hours of emotions all bottled up. So remember that when you are parenting as well, as a lot of their actions could be compliance versus emotional safety, where they feel safe to show their emotion without fear or retaliation, which she provides very helpful information on in this book. And finally, she mentions and talks about parenting being generational. We learned our parenting skills from our parents, so you should never feel guilt or shame and feel like you're failing as a parent because you might not have been taught all of the best skills. You're just going off what you were taught. And she goes over letting go of that shame, trusting your inner compass, and reconnecting you with your intuition, and helping to get regulation back to help connect with your kids and make a more cohesive family with the resources that you have available. So I fully recommend the book. I wish it would have been a little bit longer, but I think it was $6.99 on Amazon. It was definitely a good read. I ended up reading it while I was at work and ended up taking about 4 pages worth of notes that I condensed down into what you just heard here. And I found it very easy to navigate through and understand without it being a lot of large terms that would honestly be confusing to me. And I didn't find it confusing at all. I honestly found it a pretty useful resource. So if you're looking for extra parenting resources, give this one a look. It costs less than a, coffee at Starbucks. So as always, I want to thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share. And you can email me at fosterdaddirective@gmail.com with any feedback, ideas, stories. And I hope that this was interesting. I have the other book for dads navigating child custody, which I will be doing here within the next week or so, I think. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.